Former Vice President Mike Pence is out with a new book, and he is not holding back. Since he left office, Pence has become increasingly critical of President Trump. The former governor of Indiana served in the Trump's administration, the first Trump administration, and then ran against him in 2024. His new book is called What Conservatives Believe: Rediscovering the Conservative Conscience. Pence argues President Trump and the Republican Party have moved far away from traditional conservative ideals. We make it easy for you to buy the book. Scan the QR code right now on your screen to purchase it now. Mr. Vice President, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, thank you, Vlad.
Good to see you.
Good to be on.
Thank you very much for coming on. So let's start with the topic. Let's go with the news of day.
Right.
Personal values. Multiple candidates are running for office. You've got Democrats like Graham Plattner, Republican Ken Paxton in Texas. They're facing questions about their personal lives, things like infidelity. Do you believe issues like adultery should be disqualifying for a candidate? And this is about the people that are running today. We're not looking in the past.
Well, first off, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on.
And I write about the principles that have defined the conservative movement for the last 50 years, and certainly the issues of integrity and character have been embraced by our movement through the years, and they seem less significant today. But the reason I wrote the book is because for all these decades, the Republican Party has been defined by a conservative agenda, of a strong defense of limited government, traditional moral values, including character. They battled against the progressive left, which, as we speak, seems to go farther and farther toward the progressive agenda and even a socialist agenda. I think one of the reasons President Trump came to power in 2016 and has such enduring popularity is because the way he's fought the progressive left.
Right,
but the reason I wrote the book, Vlad, is because what I want Republicans to know is that there's a new threat to that conservative agenda from a populist right that would walk away from those timeless values, that would embrace big government solutions, protectionism, even isolationism, and questioning our allies.
I want to ask you about that, but I just want to get you on the record with regards to character as an issue. For example, sure. Ken Paxton, would you endorse Ken Paxton?
Well, when I see the choice that Texans face today, I think their choice is clear.
Ken Paxton is your choice?
I would absolutely support the Republican candidate in Texas over the Democrat candidate, Tellerico, who I think is far left, progressive left, extreme on social issues. And it's important to remember this is also about the control of the Senate. Midterm elections are always tough for the party in power in the White House. It'll be very difficult in many ways in this election for Republicans. And I'm confident the people of Texas are going to do their part to keep that Republican.
So you've made it clear. You've made it clear how you feel about James Tallarico. But when does your moral compass and your personal value come up against the dirtiness that often enters our politics? How do you personally reconcile that?
Well, for me, it always comes down to principle. You know, I write in the book that leaders fade into history, me included, but principles are final. And I believe that the principles that the Republican Party has championed over the last 50 years of limited government, a commitment to the Constitution, of a strong American leadership in the world and those traditional values has not just served our party, but I think has served our country and delivered freedom and prosperity and strength for our nation. You've
talked about President Trump. He once famously said that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose any voters. In other words, the voters, the people who support him, so believe in his ideals and his principles that they're willing to back him no matter what. Do you think that is the animating principle of our politics today? That somebody could do anything, even things that go against your moral compass, but as long as they're delivering on the policies that you support, that's okay?
No, look, I'm incredibly proud of the record of the Trump-Pence administration. And the Trump-Pence administration, in every sense, was a continuation of the conservative agenda that really first came to the White House with Ronald Reagan's election in 1980. But
what about
I think the president's appeal, and I think, look, the president and I are very different men. We spoke in different ways when we served together in
That's
the Senate. But I think the president's enduring appeal is he's been willing to take on the left in this country that's become increasingly radical. I mean, you have here in New York City a a Democrat mayor who embraces socialism, who rejects some of our most vital allies, including Israel as a vital and important ally in the life of our nation. I don't want to overstate that, but I honestly do believe that the president's appeal has been his willingness to fight for the Republican Party against the left.
And yet,
but it's important that Republicans understand that there is this new threat to the conservative agenda from within.
From within,
the
on
popular
the far right, which
right.
is what you write about in the book. You argue that President Trump is not a conservative. You cite tariffs, you cite the marginalizing of right to life, and other examples. This book reads like a history book, sir. Barry Goldwater, you mentioned Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Republican voters, CBS News polling shows that some 80% of people who are Republicans still approve of what the president is doing. So how do you reconcile your version of conservatism? Even President John F. Kennedy might not be seen as a Democrat today. He was a communist fighter. Ronald Reagan would potentially be somebody that the president rejects as a rhino.
Well, you asked exactly the right question. And I think that the president's popularity among Republicans should not be confused with Republicans leaving that conservative agenda. You know, I spoke in front of more MAGA rallies than I can remember. And the people I spoke before are some of the most hardworking, God-fearing, patriotic, conservative Americans I ever met. I still believe that the overwhelming majority of people that ever vote Republican, Republicans, independents, and many Democrats, do so because they're committed to a strong defense, to limited government, to traditional moral values. And I believe for the sake of our country, for the sake of our party, it's going to be imperative for the Republican Party to return to those principles, and that's why I wrote the book.
Mr. Vice President, thank you very much. We appreciate having you on. Scan the QR code right now on your screen to buy the book.